Reading from Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 1, Chapter 1, Text 2. Can everybody see me okay? Okay, because on my screen, there's something blocking me, but that's okay, as long as you could see. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrī Hari-prabhṛtayo nitānta-bhagavat jayanti. Gopyo nitānta-bhagavat-priyatā-prasiddhāḥ. Yāsāṁ harau parama-sauhṛda-mādhurīṇāṁ. Nirvaktum īṣad api jātu. śaktaḥ. All glories, above all, to the gopīs, headed by Śrī Radhika, who are famous as the Lord's dearmost devotees. No one can even begin to properly describe the charm of their supreme affection for Śrī Hari. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Taksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishnam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sa Padantikam. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Shindu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I just have to look at the last verse for a second, just to give me the context. I did it before, but somehow it's not. Take me a second. Okay, I'll just read the last verse too. All glories to that inconceivable Lord who descended to bestow the gift of perfect love for his own lotus feet. He is an ocean filled with many kinds of sweetness, and he always bears the fragrance of fresh youth. In his form of Sri Chaitanya, he has realized the last extreme of transcendental experience, the love residing eternally in the gopīs. This Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta is it's really the first philosophical treatise written by the followers of Lord Chaitanya, because Sanatana Goswami met Lord Chaitanya at Prayag, now known as Allahabad, or maybe now known as Prayag again. And, he was enlightened and given the mission to, present Krishna consciousness. And in his genius, he did it in the form of a story. It's really helpful to understand, if you want to understand the goal, or if you want to understand the highest thing, it's important to understand the gradations of realization that come before that. Just like we studied Ramananda Samvad, and there was a gradation of spiritual practices. So Lord Chaitanya, anarpita charim charat, karunaya vitirna kalo, samarpyatam unatoj vala rasam swabhakti sriyam. I think we discussed this last Sunday. Swabhakti sriyam, he came to give his own devotion, and his not only his own devotion, but his devotion, swabhakti, his own bhakti. What is that bhakti? It's not Krishna's bhakti for his devotees. It's Krishna's. It's the devotees' bhakti for him, which he came to experience. There's that beautiful verse in Ramananda Samvad, and I think I explained it also on Sunday, that Krishna assumes the mood and complexion of Śrī Radhika to taste the ecstasy of his own sweetness. And what's the ecstasy of his own sweetness? It's the ecstasy of tasting God, who is Krishna, who is all attractive, which is our goal. We want to see and feel. We want to not only see, we want to feel that reality. Because to actually see a relationship means to feel a relationship. If you have someone you love and you see them, you don't just see them, you feel them. And without feeling them, there's really no sense of seeing them. Who cares to see someone that we don't feel? So he comes to give something, and he comes to give what he feels when he sees himself. And to see someone depends on the degree of love you have for them. Not only what perception that gives you, but what that inspires the person to reveal of themselves. Perception here is a two-way thing. It's not only the view of it, it's the view of something, but it's not the view of something that can be simply understood without that object revealing itself. When you understand a person, when you appreciate a person, it's when he reveals himself. That's why it's so beautiful. I love that one picture of Prabhupada at the airport when Jamuna's sister, I believe her name was Janaki, where she stole Prabhupada's passport. And it's so beautiful. And even Prabhupada, there's one sense of Prabhupada. There's the corporate Prabhupada, the Aishwarya Prabhupada, the head of the institution. And in Hari Sari's diaries, that's so beautiful how he presents. But for some people, that's not their Prabhupada. Their Prabhupada. Everyone has the same person. You have you own them or possess them or love them or understand them in a particular way. That's not my Prabhupada, some people say, who were there at the very beginning. That's why it's so nice to hear some of those early biographies of Prabhupada and intimate, and that's what the very nature, that's what Krishna means. It's not just seeing the person Krishna, but seeing and feeling what the person Krishna gives to one in the intimacy of love. And that's the speciality of Krishna consciousness. Akila Rasamrita Murti. Akila Rasamrita, he's the full embodiment of rasa, which means the full embodiment of God giving himself. And that's what the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta is. It's this revelation, very special revelation of God, which is Sanatana Goswami's revelation, which is the revelation of the 6 Goswamis, which we can also have both in the perfection of our own devotion as our goal in devotion, and we can have as Sanatana Goswami brings it out. That's the special effect of associating with an advanced devotee, a pure devotee. The Krishna that they bring out in their hearts, you can experience even if you don't have that devotion to a certain degree. And that's what we call śrī-rādhikā. When someone chants very, very purely, it's the same name, but more. And what's the more? It's the person of the name revealing themselves to that person. And when you hear their chanting, you hear their Krishna. To a certain extent, that you won't hear when another person who doesn't have that intimate relationship chants. When someone chants the holy name, you hear their Krishna. And that's what Prabhupada gave, really. He gave Prem Kirtan, where chanting is done for the pleasure of Krishna. Someone sent me a lecture by a Christian preacher, and for a reason, because it was really good. He described that the whole world is into selfies. It's all about ourselves. And so he said, what a spiritual person has to do, and I'm not technologically, I don't take selfies, and he said what we previously called a narcissist, today we call Facebook. I thought that was a pretty good statement. So he described, there's a thing on selfie where you turn it around. And he describes that he said we should do that in relationship to God. We're always reflected on ourselves. We're always looking in the mirror. rather than looking beyond. And when someone has that consciousness in relationship to God, God reveals himself in a very beautiful way. So Sanatana Goswami, it's 10 verses are the introduction, and we describe the importance of that introduction, because to explain this subject, it can't just be done by someone's intellectual prowess. It has to be done by someone's devotional prowess. And so Sanatana Goswami is offering prayers. And what these prayers are mentioning, basically, that this ocean of God's qualities, the ocean is the analogy, is the metaphor of something that is so vast, that's beyond one's capability to conquer, to put within their mind. So we can't conquer and put our mind in God's qualities. What to speak of his God qualities, but as it's mentioned in the first verse, the extreme limit, the parama-anta, of transcendence, which is this very, very special love that God came to distribute, that God came to experience. And only because of his experience is there the realization for him to explain it. And that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it requires some mercy. And here, again, it said the same thing in this verse. And this is the mood. I can't create the name of God. I can only attract the name of God. I can't fathom the glories of God. I can only attract the glories of God. And this is why bhakti is the path of grace. It tells you that it's mercy, that it's beyond your ability to fathom and comprehend, but it's not beyond your ability to attract that understanding. And that's the principle of bhakti. Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tvam yena mamupaya. The one who worships me with faith and devotion, I give them the knowledge by which they can come to me. So he's praying to attract that mercy and to be put in a position to understand that mercy when it comes. And the simple analogy I always give is a spoiled child can never appreciate the love of their parents. It's not that the love of the parents are given. The love of the parents may be pouring out from the parents in terms of what they give the children. But if they feel entitled, they never could comprehend it. But if they're humble, they have access to it, they can understand it, they can appreciate it. So this is a huge, huge task. You can imagine Sanatana Goswami beginning this I mean, my little experience, and those who are writers will have that experience. When you begin, every Monday morning when I begin the Monday morning greetings, it's an impossible task. You know, somehow, maybe it's my effort, whatever, maybe there's some mercy involved, but it just seems daunting, especially when, you know, there's a difficult subject that I chose. So here now, Sanatana Goswami, and just imagine, I mentioned before that I'm reading a book. I decided I need plain reading. I can't study Shastra on the plane too well, but I want something relevant. So the book was called, I think, Moonstruck with Einstein. And it's the history of memorization. And it begins with this contest. They have these memory contests. And somehow this writer runs into this, and he begins to write about it, begins to study. And it's very fascinating how he said before reading was intensive, now reading is extensive. You read a lot, but previously reading entailed memory. Now it doesn't entail memory. The memory is in the book. You know, you have your reference. It's not in your head. You have your reference. But previously, the books weren't written in that way. And even a book may be a long, like, scroll. So you couldn't even really go back to it. Can you imagine trying to find the points when you unroll a scroll? And even he was describing even how the Torah is written. It can't be understood unless you almost memorize it, because the punctuation and all these things weren't there. But imagine Sanatana Goswami. What it made me understand was the level of memory skills. And it's a whole history. It was one of the main studies was memorization, especially in theology, because not only was memorization for retaining things, it was absorbing things. It was part of this. And I can see that now. The few verses I know that I chant in the morning when I sit before my deities, after I offer the bhoga, then I chant some Mangalacharana. And so that I memorize these things and the words and the power of them. So I'm thinking of Sanatana Goswami, the power of memory that they had. Because what we do, even in editing on a computer, they do in their minds. And when they have to hit that page, they have one shot. So I think we've become dull in many ways. And it may be another example of Maya Sukhaya, that the steps advancement go a little step back too. So anyway, he's writing this, and his mood is, I need mercy. Bhakti needs mercy. When I chant my prayers in the morning, and I go through the disciplic succession, and at least I say Jai if I don't have a prayer, I realize this is significant. It's significant to get something and to put myself in the consciousness to receive it. And look, it's Sanatana Goswami, he has this in his mind. But this is an immense task. He can't cut and paste. He has to practically see the whole book. And then he has to put each verse in perfect poetry. There was a different level of mind. There's one famous educator called John Gotti, not the criminal, the mafia. And he wrote a book called Dumbing Down of America. And he described how the modern educational system of first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, that whole style of education, it was funded to devise that kind of system of modern education. It was funded by Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, John D. Rockefeller, and Henry Ford. An educational system that would suit the Industrial Revolution. Of course, good teachers within that system can inspire their students, and I'm saying the general form. So Sanatana Goswami sitting down to write this, how much mercy does he need? And now he's saying, glories to Krishna. This is the first verse. Who came to give himself and then appeared at Chaitanya to experience himself. And this is what this book is about. It's not just about bhakti. It's about Braja Bhakti. It's not just about Braja Bhakti. It's about Braja Bhakti to the highest level. And therefore, he says, well, then he's going on. And jayanti means glory. But when they say glory, they're saying glory to what I consider glory as the highest object of glorification. The highest object of glorification. So he says, and just reading, I like sometimes read Śrī Radhikā. We're offering glory, śrī-rādhikā-prabhṛtayo, beginning with nitarāṁ, jayanti, to the gopīs, nitarāṁ, especially Śrī Radha, jayanti, to the gopīs, especially by and why to them? Nitānta, they're very much prasiddhāḥ. They're very much famous. And why are they famous? Bhagavat to the Lord priyatā. They are the most dear to the Lord, especially them. And as to the gopīs, above all the gopīs, especially Radha. Because Bhagavat-priyatā, they're especially dear, and they're famous for that. And this harau, parama, this of the gopīs, of the harau, parama-sauhṛda-mādhurīṇāṁ, the charm, suryada, the closeness of heart and affection, the parama, the supreme charm and sweetness and closeness of affection. Nirvaktum, to begin describing īṣad even a little bit. Jātu, nakad, not possible. No one can begin to describe this. and I have to do it. And I know how I can do. I can't do it by my own effort. I need to get the mercy of those people who I want to describe, for them to reveal this Mādhurīṇāṁ, this sweetness, this closeness of heart. I'm supposed to explain this. Those people who have it, they're going to have to somehow reveal that to me. And the process is I have to attract it by bowing my head humbly and begging for this. And this is his mood. And in this mood, it's just like when I was watching this Christian spirit, this Christian preacher, someone sent me the tape, and it was quite a relevant tape about humility. So he was talking about the Holy Spirit, that everyone has a bit of the Holy Spirit within them. And with that spirit, in some way or another, they're supposed to do good for others. And then he said, I'm speaking, but it's beyond myself, and it's coming from the Holy Spirit. And you see the way these Christian speakers get really emotional and possessed. The only thing that I would say is, well, you think only Christians have that? You don't think of go to a Vaishnava cat. I'm possessed by the Spirit right now. You feel that spirit. So what to speak of Sanatana Goswami? And therefore there's that verse. Vyas may know or may not know. Because something's coming through you beyond you. Because it's grace, and grace means undeserved. So although Sanatana Goswami is right, it's beyond him. It's not just his intellect. He's using his intellect in the service of Krishna. And therefore Krishna is using his intellect in the service of Krishna. He's inspired to write this. So, and about Radha, above all Radha, because she has the full capacity to serve Krishna. Serving Krishna means his own Shaktis. Srimati Radha is the Purna Shakti. And she has the full capacity to please Krishna. She is Mahabhav, the highest love, Swarup. She is the form of the highest love. And therefore even Krishna says, Naparaye ham niravadya samyujam susadu krityam vibhuda piva. He says, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. This is Krishna saying, I cannot equal the intensity of the love that you are giving me. And somehow or other, this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give the world, and this is what he inspires. He not inspires, he gives the service of Sanatana Goswami to explain. Sanatana Goswami mentions here that no one can describe even an atomic particle of the sweet, intimate love of the gopis. The gopis feel for the all-attractive Krishna. So wonderful is their reciprocation with him that Krishna himself does not have words to describe it. So try to get into the mind of Sanatana Goswami. He really has to be in the mood. I want to do good for others. Krishna, use me. And that's what a Krishna conscious speaker is. He has to look into his audience and says, I want to do good for them. I want to share. I want to share. Use me. That was Prabhupada's prayer on the Jaladuta, another impossible task. I have that image of Prabhupada standing on the east shore of America in Boston Harbor in New York, looking out at material civilization, never saw the comparison, even when I first came to India, what to speak when Prabhupada came to India, the difference between the industrial, technological power of America and India. Then Prabhupada comes with his plastic white shoes and a box of Bhagavatams and $47, I don't know, some ridiculously low amount of money. And then sees what his task is. And then he prays, I'm just a beggar, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance. And then thinks, I have no power, and then begins to quote from the Bhagavatam. Begins to quote those verses. Shrindvata Swakata, by the power of the Bhagavatam. And then the next verse, realizing that the ecstasy of his beloved devotees is even sweeter than his own, out of greed, the Lord descended to this world in the form of his own devotee, dressed as a renunciate, golden in effulgence. He bears the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. All glories to Lord Hari, who has appeared as the son of Mother Sachi. So the same point that comes out in the first verses. How can I describe this love? And Sanatana replies, that it's only by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Namo Maha Vadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Sise Namaha. It's only by mercy. And we can just feel how Sanatana Goswami is. Anyway, I'm gonna stop here. Jamuna Jaya had to help her sister. So if anybody has any questions, if anyone has questions also, you can either speak up or you could write. Rati? Oh, I see. Okay, how it is. If anyone has any reflections or questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. No question. I just always appreciate hearing how you describe what it means to see a person, You see a person by how you feel when you either think of them or see them. Which I imagine too, depending upon who the person is, it may not always be, feelings of affection. When you see some people, it might be feelings of some kind, it might be negative too, But, seeing the person means what you experience in your heart upon seeing them, whether it's positive or negative.
I don't think you understood my point. My point is that in relationship with someone else, and you see that person, what you know of them is not just what you see of them, but what you know of them is what they give to you. For example, a loving mother, you feel her love for you, and that's very much part of who she is. So that was my point, and the point was in relationship to understanding God. We understand God not just by our intellectual analysis, but by what he chooses to reveal to us. And especially when it comes to these esoteric aspects of God, these intimate aspects of God, as applied to, Sanatana Goswami. That was my point.
So you're saying that a person is whatever that person reveals of himself or herself to you.
I'm saying that to know someone, there's something more than just our analysis of them. It's our love for them and what they choose to reveal to us in intimacy. So there's a lot more to a person than just his history and his accomplishments, but it's their person which manifests in love. And that can only be known if you have a relationship with the person. And therefore, I'm saying here in this Sanatana Goswami thing, he's saying, how am I going to explain this extreme level of transcendence? He's such a scholar in so many languages, but he realizes he needs mercy to understand it. And therefore, he's praying for that mercy to Śrī Radhika and then to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to share something or ask a question?
Thank you very much, Maharaj. This is Krishna-amrita. May I ask you a question? It's in the same, it's in the connection with this question that you discussed now. So when we are told that Krishna attracts us by his beauty, what does it mean? So it's not only that we see something, it's something that we feel with all our essence, with all our soul. How to understand this?
Well, Krishna's beauty is also his love for the living entities, that he wants to please them. So how do we understand that beauty? Well, again, beauty is also, to some sense, they say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So yes, he's beautiful, but his beauty is not just physical, it's his heart. And his love manifests in his beauty. It's just like a person's karma. They may have beauty because they have the karma to control and seduce others. And sometimes you see a very beautiful person that doesn't have that in their consciousness at all. It's almost they wanted to be beautiful to be pleasing to others, or they are beautiful to be pleasing to others. So Krishna is beautiful to be pleasing to others. And those who have love for him, when they see his beauty, they also see his love. They also feel their love for him. It's just like when Krishna plays the flute. It's more than beautiful music. It's Krishna's love manifest in sound which when you hear, you feel that affection in it. So physical or external things carry also the consciousness that creates it. That's why, you can see in certain singers, it's not just their voice, it's what their voice carries. So it's not just Krishna's beauty, it's what his beauty carries. Okay, anybody else? Say hello or...
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Tota Gopinath here. Great to hear from you.
Haribo, thanks, Tota.
Hare
Krishna, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Amala, very nice. I'll see you tomorrow too, I suppose.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I better focus.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for class.
Hey, Haribo, Lal.
Well, thank you.
Suppose I'll see you soon, even though you're busy on Saturdays.
Yeah. Hopefully soon. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Very well.
Anybody else?
Haribo Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo.
Haribo, we're on the road.
Haribo.
Are you traveling?
Yeah, just a few hours. Thanks for the class.
Okay, great. Because I know you guys do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
Are you going out to California soon? No.
Yes, in June.
Okay, great. Okay, Haribo, thanks for coming on. Hare Krishna.
Thanks so much. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for class.
Is this Isabel?
Yes.
Oh, otherwise I would say you could call me in a half hour, but you're going to work, right? You want to call me this evening?
Yeah, I start at 9, so that'll be half hour.
You want to call me this evening?
I think I'm cutting off.
Try, what time are you home?
It's cutting off a bit, Maharaj. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What time do you get home?
I get home. I can call you around 5. Is that good?
Yeah. Send me a little text before then. Okay. Thank you.
I will. Thank you, Maharaj. Have a good day.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. śrī-rādhikā here. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yavat-sundari.
Haribo. Good.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the class.
And now you're both in Kish, yes?
Yes.
My dream is to come there one day, but
and our dream also.
We don't know. This world is just so beyond our control.
Yeah.
But it's also beyond the control of everyone else. So that gives us solace.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
By your mercy, something will happen, Maharaj.
Okay. Good. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Don Cayley.
Hey, it was great to see you. And
yeah, it was a great class the other day. I was wondering if I could swing by after work today.
Come by.
Okay, I'll be there around 5. I baked you some cookies this morning.
Wow. Great. And, it was so great, because Mallory, after the program, collapsed. You saw that.
Yeah.
But when she woke up, the kitchen was spotlessly clean. It was great. It was appreciated. Okay. Yeah, you got a better job now. I can see that.
I do.
Okay. You're at work now, right?
Yes.
No one's over your shoulder. It's great. Just do your work. Okay, great. Anybody else? Okay. See you guys Sunday. Vanchakalpa Tribhyascha.